Hi, this is Jared,
And this is Marla.
and we are the parents of Joel, Mikey, and John, also known as the Bradley Boys, and sometimes as Triple Trouble.
Not trouble because they're bad boys, usually at least, but more because they have so much energy and they're always using it in such fun ways.
When we first adopted them almost 9 years ago, they instantly became everyone's favorite entertainment.
Whether we were in church or at the grocery store or anywhere else, people would just watch and see just to see what the boys were going to do.
Lots of people follow us on social media just for the boys, and we definitely can't blame them.
So we decided to make a podcast about them.
This is for all those that have kids, grandkids, or know some kids and can relate to some of the hilarious things kids do, especially little boys.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share with your friends.
Now let's get into today's episode. All right. Hey,
Hey.
welcome back to Bradley Boys Triple Trouble. And my lip's still a little numb. I went to the dentist this morning, and so I'm going to let Marla do most of the talking today. But we thought it would be really fun to talk about, especially when the boys were younger and you would take them to the park, some of the challenges that you had. Now, remember, we went from having two girls that
8 years apart.
8 years apart that were pretty much they were able to take care of themselves,
Mhm.
to that nice, serene life, to absolute chaos, literally just overnight, of having three boys in diapers. And, the twins were 2.5 and John was not even 1. And we went from that serene, nice family episode to
Chaos.
just complete, utter chaos. And so what was it like? I mean, little boys like that are so active.
They were very active. They are very active.
Yeah, but back then they were confused about being in a new home, but they were also endless little energy, but it was all unfocused. At least now we can get them focused into sports and things like that.
Yeah, true.
But back then it was like you had to provide the entertainment.
Yes. So we did a lot of time at the park. The park is a great place for the kids. Lots of moms like to take their kids to the park. So we had a park that it was kitty corner from our house, several streets, houses over, but I could see the playground from our front steps. So
You could almost throw a rock and hit that playground.
Well, yeah, if I had a good arm. Yeah. Like if Nicole went over at 8 and 9 with some of her friends, she could go across the street and I'd be okay because I could just keep checking on her. But the boys, I had to go with them. So we're going to talk about getting the kids kitty corner across the street to the park.
Yeah.
Safely.
This is getting kids like equivalent of like 3 or 4 houses away.
Yes. So let me explain safely. So, we had to cross one street, the street in front of our house, residential street, not too busy. Then you go down another house with, and then there's another residential street, but it's the one that connects all the others together. So it's a little more busy and they need to wait for me at that street so we could cross the street to the park. But the boys would take off, they'd run, and they would wait for me when they're obeying. Like on the way there, they were good and they would wait for me and then we'd cross the street. They'd have to wait and I held their hands and we'd cross the street and get to the park. The problem was getting home because kids don't want to come home at the same time and they get hangry and they get hungry and, or they just don't want to stop playing and they throw a fit. Every mother or father at the park with kids had problems getting their kid to leave the park, right? So to get them all home at the same time and not running off, I had to use leashes. So I know parents have different opinions on leashes, but we're talking safety here, right? So what that was just a harness. I ordered a harness that went over their shoulders, around their rib cage with a little clip-on leash at the back. And we have a picture of me. We'll find it and we'll post it in the YouTube video before this goes up, of me going out the front steps with the 3 of them on leashes. I clipped the things on the back so we could all walk across the street safely, get to the end, walk across the street safely. When we got to the park, I'd unhook the leashes. I left the harnesses on them. I just unhooked the things off the back. So we didn't have to deal with taking harnesses on and off. And then they could play. Then we will get to the leash part coming home in just a little bit. Let's talk about going to the park. They all like to play different things. Mikey was our climber, and he would climb everything, but he climbs on top of everything. He doesn't go through the tube slide. He goes on top of this tube slide, and wants to climb all the different things to climb. So when we first used to go, I would stand underneath him in case he was going to fall. I could catch him, stand underneath each one of the boys that was climbing something. And but eventually I just learned Mikey's fine. He's not going to fall off any of these things. If he thinks he's going to, he'll call me and I can run over there. So I can spend my time underneath John, who's younger, or Joel if he's trying to be tricky. But pretty much if they're fine, then I could sit down. But other mothers would come to the park and then they'd see Mikey up there and they'd start freaking out. Who's the kid that's up there? Oh my gosh, he's going to get hurt. And he's fine. He's going to be fine. I'm not a negligent mother. I know what he can do. He's fine. I'm watching him. He's okay. So I heard that a lot of times. And I did go to the park with a young mom who had her first child. And I actually did take that kid. He liked to play with John. I took him to the park once. When I was with him, I stood under him the whole time because he wasn't my kid. I didn't know what he could do. So I was there with him the whole time. I didn't want him to get hurt. But she came with us once and she just noticed that I'm just letting my boys climb as she's underneath hers the whole time. She's like, will I ever get to the point where I'm not scared about my kids? And I said, well, yeah, you learn what they can do. You'll learn what they can do. And then it won't bother you because she's like, because your kid is just like on top of the whole thing. I said, I know. And he's fine. He's going to be fine. He just knows how to do it. And
we have pictures of Mikey climbing up stuff that's like 15 feet in the air.
I know.
It's insane.
And it's not like we wanted him to, he just did. And
he was fast.
And yeah.
I mean, he would be up, which is why he's a ninja warrior now. I mean, the kid can climb stuff so fast.
Yeah. So that was Mikey climbing, and John liked to climb and go through the slides. Joel wanted to take a ball and just go up the hill and play with the ball up there. So sometimes we throw balls up there, hit baseballs, play soccer. All of us would play soccer up there. And then, of course, the swings. Little kids love the swings, and they want mom and dad to push them in the swing forever. And I hate pushing swings because it would hurt my back. And so after a while of pushing swings, my back would hurt. I'd push, I'd run under them, push, run under them. And then eventually I'd be like, I'm done. I'm just done pushing swings. You have to get out. So I love going to the park now. They can pump their own legs. I mean, I would avoid swings. I'm like, no. But now that they can pump, okay, whatever. If you want to go to the park and they'll say, will you push me? Oh, maybe like 3 times. And then you're on your own after that, guys, because you can handle it. So I didn't like the swing part of it all, but that's just part of going to the park with little kids. So here's the issue. At the back of the park, so the front of the park was the playground, and then it goes up a hill to a play area of grass, and around it was basically a track that you could walk. And at the back end, that track extended both directions, north and south, into a really nice walking trail. It was covered with woods. It had a stream running down the side. It was really pretty. We enjoyed walking as a family along the walking trail as well. But when one of them would get upset, let me just say, certain one, and he would run away, and he would run down that trail to go around the corner where I couldn't see him. This is not safe, right? So I've got 2 other ones that want to stay at the playground, and I've got one that wants to run away. And how do I keep them all together? This is where leashes come in because I have to carry them, put them on the leash, keep them with me while I'm trying to keep up to the other one and get them. Let go of their leash. If they're in a good mood, they'll stay close enough. But I couldn't get to him. I don't remember the details of why I couldn't, but I just remember it took a long time to get back to where we could actually get home. And I remember one specific time trying to get to him, had the other 2 boys. I would get him and try to go. Then the other 2 boys didn't want to come. So if I got there, so then I just clipped the little leashes back onto their back so that we can all walk towards the front. But if they don't want to come, I have to carry them, right? Well, the one didn't want to come, and he won't let me carry him like a normal kid. So I pick up his strap on his back, and I'm carrying it just like dead weight, carrying a sack in from the grocery store. Okay, but he's 3. I'm not strong enough to go all the way home carrying him like that. So I have the 2 boys in one hand on a leash. They're walking. I have the other one carrying him like a sack. and I'd walk a few steps and have to put him down. And he'd just lay there. And then I'd have to walk a few more steps and put him down. I am not going to make it home. I'm not that strong. How am I going to get this
meters.
kid
home? It's like 100 meters to get to the house.
Yeah, and I'm still up on the field.
So it's 150 meters.
Haven't gotten down the field yet.
Yeah.
And I just remember that was so hard. And I thought, okay, this leash thing isn't working because more than one's mad and he's trying to pull off the leash that direction. He's trying to pull off the leash to that direction. I'm not strong enough to just carry him, and I don't have 3 arms to get him all home. So we had to switch tactics. I had to put them in the car and drive them freaking across the street 100 yards to get there safely. So well,
it's either that or a wheelbarrow.
They would have liked the wheelbarrow, but if they're mad, they would have jumped out, right?
Right.
So
you could strap them in duct tape. Duct tape works everywhere.
Mikey can unpick duct tape. That's for a different episode. That's for the skate park harvest episode. But anyway, no, I did not wrap him up with duct tape, just so people know that. But anyway, so you put him in the garage with the garage door down so they can't get out. So we get him in the car safely without any of them running out.
Okay, moms, pay attention, because Marla is a master at having 3 little boys, basically triplets at one time. Marla became not only a master of understanding different psychological things, but also
logistical.
Logistical, being able to actually take 3 little boys shopping.
I just didn't do that very often.
No, not, but when you had to, you did. So anyway, this is funny.
Well, so I'd leave the garage door down so we get all the kids in the car, which they're cooperative when you're going to the park. So just jump in the car, right? And then you can put the garage up and drive out and across the street, kitty corner, into the park, and let them get out and play. And then when one of them's getting upset and doesn't want to come home, or it's just time to take one of them home and the other 2 don't want to come home, you can take the kids who are happy still and cooperative still and put them in the car so they're safe. And the one who's running away or won't come or whatever, I can now go carry with 2 hands, get them in the car, shut the door. And by the way, we have child locks locked on the door so they can't open the door, right? Shut the door, shut it, get in the car real quick, and we can drive home. Shut the garage and let them get out.
So it's all about containment.
It's about containment. Yes. The safest way to get them there, the safest way to get them home.
If you have wild horses, you have to have a corral.
Yes. There you go. So that's how, and I just thought, this is ridiculous. I'm driving my kids across the street to the park, but it's the only way I can get them home safely and get them all home when one of them's just lost it. Which, everybody knows when a kid's lost it, if they have their own kid. Well,
and having 3 boys like that, and some of them, all 3 of them have pretty hair triggers that, and it's pretty much a guarantee that one of them was going to be mad.
Every time.
Yeah, every time. So.
Yeah. So that's how we did it. But we do have a picture of them on leashes. I tried that first, but just didn't work as well. So what they like to do at the park, another thing, is they would take their scooters and they would scooter around in a circle, like a triangle, over and over and over again. And John, the youngest, was at 2, he was the master scooter rider. He could go faster and outride his 2 brothers. Master scooter rider. So he would ride, and he liked that because he could just go past his brothers, and they would just go and go and go, and they had so much fun. But if one of them gets upset, then they could take the scooter and go off, like up the hill or around the corner, where I can't get to them if I'm trying to stay with the other 2.
And being that fast.
Yeah, because they're on the scooter, right? And I'm walking, and they can take off one direction or the other, And so, again, I could get the other 2 in the car. If they're in a good mood, they would follow me on their scooters. But we could get them in the car, the scooters in the car, and then I could go retrieve the one who's scootering away around the park on the other side and get them safely into the car. So that we could go home. Yeah.
The 100 meters home.
The 100 meters home in the car. So I would like to hear.
I'm not even sure that was 100 meters. I mean,
no, really, probably not.
I mean, seriously.
It's a distance of one house to the right and one house to the left.
Yeah.
And cross the street.
It's like 50 meters, maybe 75. It is not very far. It's the equivalent of walking like less than 1 block. But I remember you telling me this, and my initial reaction was like, what, just walk. But then as you started describing it to me, and then when I actually tried to experience it myself, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. You know what? It's all about control and containing. And when you have 3 little kids that don't want to be controlled like that, especially when they're mad, oh my gosh, when these boys get mad, I'm sure every little kid is like this, but holy cow, when these boys get mad, they do crazy stuff. And they do crazy stuff anyway, but when they get mad, they get really crazy. And some of them, like, Mikey running down the street, sometimes that's just play, but sometimes he'd be mad and he would just run down the street, and
Yeah.
and then it wouldn't matter how many times you called his name, and he just wouldn't show up. You're like, I just lost this kid.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Yeah, we didn't want to do that. So I would love to hear from other parents, especially parents of multiples, but you don't have to have multiples to have a hard time getting your kid home from the park. What it's like to get your kid to leave the park when they're young and they're just going to throw a fit, and containing multiples when you're trying to do something like that.
And if you're listening to this on the podcast, make sure to go to our YouTube channel, because we're going to try to, we have a ton of pictures and sometimes video. And so we're going to try to insert a lot of those into our, the video portion of the video cast. So make sure to check both of them out, because it's going to be.
And you can comment on the
YouTube channel,
where I don't know that you can on podcasts, but you can email us, BB for Bradley Boys, BB, then spell out triple trouble @gmail.com. Want to hear those stories? We'll share them when we get them if you want them shared. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. So at the park also, we used to go do some family soccer with Kayla and Nicole and the boys, and we'd split up, and that was a lot of fun. And we take a walk on the trails. The trails had some hills that went up and down, and the boys could go on their bike or their scooter, and they'd ride ahead of us and then ride back to us. There was another park further down we could ride to, play at that park. Nice area to play in the stream there. It opened up to a big stream area, and then we could ride back. And so that was a really fun way to keep them active and have good
we just had to make sure
time.
they didn't like get in other people's way, because there's a lot of people on those trails, and they're constantly like, Mikey, look out, that dude biking down that trail is going to run you over.
Yeah, that's just going with kids.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. And when they got bigger, they actually would walk to the park and walk home, and it was okay. The fit part was still pretty difficult, but most of the time, I do remember the boys running home as we crossed the big street. Our neighbor had a big tree that was the perfect height for them to climb and just sit on the bottom. The twins would climb those tree, wait for me to get across the street with John and climb, and we'd just sit there for a few minutes and let them climb that climbing tree. You can post a picture of that, and then we'd finish walking home. So great way to keep them happy, go to the park, but I had to drive to keep them contained.
There's some movies of like people getting in their car and backing down the driveway to get their mail, and then they'll drive back up.
Videos,
yeah. It's almost equivalent to that, but instead of just being lazy, you had to do it because it was like a control measure, keeping these kids from running away and killing. It's like you said, I can't remember what episode it was, but you're saying, our whole job for the first couple of years,
just keep them alive,
just keeping these kids alive, because they were hell-bent on just self-destruction.
Yeah.
And I think every little kid is, but when you have 3 of them and you got to keep track of all 3 of them, it is, anyway.
Yep. But fun times.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yep.
Well, which is why we can laugh about it and talk about
it now. That's true.
Because tragedy plus time equals humor. We got plenty of humor now.
Yeah, because I remember being completely stressed out when I just couldn't get him home and couldn't carry him, and but now it's funny.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So comment on the videos or send us an email and let us know what kind of crazy stories you have about going to the park with your kids. So, okay, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
So we've wrapped up another episode.
Yes, we have.
And it's been fun, and I hope everybody's enjoyed it.
We'd love for you to subscribe and share with your friends. If there's anything you want to hear about that the boys have done or any questions you want the boys to answer, you can email us. The email is in the show notes.
Okay, well, stay tuned to the next episode. We'll get it out as quick as we can.